All right. Hi, I'm Cindy from Clovis Paws for Play, and I'm one of the Crazy2Calm Canine Coaches. And today, Penny and I are starting off the Barking Mad with Cookies, and which is basically a program to help you get your dog's barking to a more tolerable level without resorting to complete and total frustration. It requires a little bit of setup and maintenance on the owner's part, but the goal is to set the handler up for success and the dog up for success and make everybody's life in much more enriched and happier and peaceful with a much nicer coexistence. So today we're going to be talking about management and how to set the dog up for success so that this program will work for your dog. And for those of you who have been around Crazy2Calm for any length of time know that Nick is Mr. Barky Pants. And when we first started doing Zooms when Nick was a puppy, there was a lot of cookie tossing. A lot of this was going on. And now we have this when I'm on a Zoom. And actually getting him activated on a Zoom can be a challenge. That being said, I had to do a lot of management and a lot of different things with management to get him to this point. So I have windows with a walkway that's less than 10 feet from my windows, and people travel on that on a regular basis. So because I don't like people staring in my apartment at me and the people walking by will set Nick off, I have my window shades down as part of management. And I cannot, it's night and day because it does take the visual effect out of what's going on with the barking. There's other things I have done also, like I don't have a baby gate for him because my apartment's not set up in such a way that that would make sense, but I do have windows out my back bedroom that are different, and kids tend to play out back there. So while I do keep the blinds down for when I'm in my room, often if I'm in the living room, I will have the bedroom door closed, which makes more sense for me than to have a baby gate. And I've taught Nick how to actually, one of our management things is I've taught Nick how to go close the door. If I see he's barking towards the back of the apartment, I send him over to go close the door. So that's actually a management technique, and it's a cue for him that, hey, barking's not okay right now. We don't need to be in the back. We can, and that took a while to develop. Penny, what else did you have in mind?
So, starting out, we figured the best place to start would be in our homes because we know that all good training starts at home, right? Which is where we want to look at our management things at first. And there are all kinds of different types of management that we can put in place. But the whole goal of management is there's two different goals to management, depending on which one you select, depending on the management you're choosing. One is a short-term fix that you can do while you're implementing the training stage. And two would be the long-term goal of maybe the management is so easy and so less intrusive in your family life that you decide to keep it forever, right? There are some things like that. So, perhaps the dog jumps up on the back of the couch to bark out the window, but without the couch being up against the window, the dog can't see anybody, so he doesn't bark. Right? So choosing to set your living room up in a way that the couch isn't by the window could be a short-term management solution or a long-term management solution, depending on if you're willing to leave your couch not up against the window forever or not, right? So it's a matter of the goal is to prevent the behavior from being repeated, at least while you're training. And if it works better, you may not do any additional training. You may decide to leave it up forever. So another easy form of management, not necessarily to do with barking, but to have that make sense, is a trash can with a lid or a trash can that's put inside a door. I know Cindy has a trash can that's kind of hidden in her kitchen, and she always will have. Does Nick leave the trash alone now? Yeah, he probably knows how to open the door for the most part. But But the point is, she's never going to do away with that management because it fits well into her house and her lifestyle. So it's just going to stay there, at least as long as she lives in that apartment, right? She's not going to change that. So it is okay to have long-term management that provides a solution so that you can avoid doing the training. What we're looking for this week, especially when it comes to barking, is setting up that house to make it so that our dog is not barking when we're not there to distract. So that might be putting up that baby gate so that they don't have access to the room that has the window where they bark at unless you're in that room with them. So like if you're in the kitchen cooking, they can't get to the living room where they bark out the window. Or if they bark at the door, having a gate up so they can't quite get to the door. Because just preventing them from reaching that area where they bark can do a lot. If your dog is triggered by a lot of sounds that get the barking going, having some kind of white noise is a management resource. You know, it might be a TV, it might be a radio, or it might be a white noise machine. Doesn't really matter what it is, but so you have to take like what causes your dog to bark. And I know we posted this in our Facebook group, and a lot of times it was the sight of somebody coming or going past the window, the sights or sounds, that might be both sight, sound, smell, all senses combined. But it was somebody passing by the window, or the sight of a new dog in the environment, or things like, you know, the sudden appearance of something that happens on a regular basis. Like Cindy has a lot of people that walk past her apartment outside the window, which is why she keeps that door shut so Nick can't bark out the window. I have people that walk past every day during this Zoom time. So you might hear some barking from Belle and as we're working on the progress because school's getting out. Those kids walk by every time. Now, the only time I need to use those management resources is when that distraction is happening. Like when those school kids are getting out at the end of the day and they're walking past my building. The rest of the time, Belle doesn't bark out the window unless, you know, it's like right as a client showing up. That's another place, but that's where I would put that management resource into play just moments before that client showed up so that I knew I could prevent the barking or at least limit the barking. We may not prevent it entirely. Our goal is to reduce it as much as possible during the training stages. So I know in the post we covered some other management strategies. There's a big one that we don't cover very often, and this one I just want to normalize. And since our title is Barking Mad with Cookies, this one is important to me. And when I first switched over to positive reinforcement training, I was like almost appalled at the idea of doing this, but I did it. So having a treat container that has a lid and having multiples that you can stash depending on how big your house is. My house is fairly big. So at that time I had one in the kitchen, in the living room, in the bathroom, and in the bedroom. And the bedroom was a special one for my service dogs because there was a task I had to train in the bedroom for migraine alerts. So that one was a high value that only came out once in a while, but it was in there. So always a sealed container so your dog doesn't think they have it. I wish I could turn my screen and show you Belle right now because she's sitting to my left because I'm holding her treat container. This is her Zoom treat container. I have another one almost just like it that sits in my office. I'm in the training room right now. But so she knows when we start Zoom and that container comes out that treats are going to be available. So yes.
Nick, and this is Nick's Zoom treat container and his Barking Mad container. This is a really good tip. Go pick.
Container size doesn't matter. It can be as big or as small as you want for the amount of treats that you think you're going to need to use. You want to have it either right by where your dog is likely to bark, like if they jump up on that couch. I have benches underneath my window so the dogs can see out the window. And so you want to have it either right by that place where they are seeing, accessing, doing the barking, or right by where you're most likely to be when they start heading toward that location. So like if in the training room or in my office that you'll see in other videos, I have the bench below my window and then I have a couch on the other wall. So they're like opposite walls. And so since I'm normally sitting on the couch or the desk chair that's right by the couch, I keep my container on my computer desk because that's closest to me and I'm never on that bench by the window, right? I could choose either one of those locations, but I want easy access. So I'm realizing I have a very weird glare on my chin today from the sun coming in and I can't get rid of it no matter what I do. So sorry if I just made you dizzy. So that's our number one tip for management. And we want to make sure that you're doing that this week. So we want to keep these short. We want you to look at the management resources. We posted it in the Facebook group this morning. And if you have any questions or struggles with management, just let us know. We are all very skilled at searching through what your situation is to help you find a management resource that will work for you. Might be blocking the window so they can't see out the window. Might be giving your dog another activity when they're left totally alone, or using a crate that prevents them from access. You know, there's a million and one ideas, but reach out to us if you need help coming up with that management, or post it in our Facebook group for this. So moving on, every day we're going to have a game of the day and a video challenge of the day, because we also want to use this workshop to help you get better at making videos that will help your training even better, whether you share them with us or not. So we'll have a little bit of information about training, a game of the day, and a video tip of the day. So with that, Cindy, do you want to tell us about today's game of the day? You're muted.
We are going to do rewarding calm because Nick needs to calm down. He was
All right.
hyper this
Can I
morning.
stop you just for a minute? I'm sorry. I should have introduced that before turning it over. You're right. So what the main purpose of the game of today is, do something, one thing, I don't care what it is, that makes you and your dog happy. So in the YouTube or in the Facebook group, I posted a video of Belle playing with her yoga ball. Cindy's going to show us her game that they're playing today. So go ahead, Cindy.
Well, Nick was laying on the couch next to me, but he decided to get up and move. But what we're doing today is we're rewarding calm because Nick was rather hyper today when we went out and did our public access training. And he was really, really good in most of the time. He did have his moments, but he did settle down. And where I was really happy with him was there were dogs that were there that were actively being shocked and stressed, and the shock collar group was there. And Nick generally has a really hard time dealing with any dog that's in distress and is exuding excessive cortisol. Long story short is he doesn't like being around dogs being punished, anybody being punished. So he was
I don't
kind of,
blame him.
and I don't blame him. And he was kind of antsed up. And plus, he had his new friend Bo there and his bestie Earl. And so there was quite a bit of poodle play that wanted to happen. So, but we got them all calmed down. And we had that big success. Well, now I know because we were out and Nick had to maintain his self control. And he actually did really good coming into the house, because there was a squirrel that ran right in front of him and he was excited to see it. It was very obvious, perked up, but he didn't chase it, which was really huge in my opinion. So now he's calming down. And I think what I might do actually is I might just energize him a bit, because this will help him relieve some of that stress from being pent up and having to behave. So I'm going to turn my screen around and you're going to see my messy apartment and my messy dog. And what we're gonna do is
That's totally fine, because one of our things is we don't care what your house looks like. We don't care
oh,
where things are at. The goal is, if we're watching a training video, we are watching the dog and you together as a team.
okay, so this is one of Nick's. What? You don't want to play with your?
I think he just told you no, he's still tired.
I think he's still tired. Well, this is one of his favorite games usually. Nick, get it, get it. Apparently, it's not his favorite game right now. Did you get it? Oh, got him activated. And so he likes this because and basically this is indoor whip games, or indoor flirt pole. Drop.
Yes, it's a very small flirt pole, specific for small spaces.
It's actually, this is dressage whip. This is the only acceptable use for dressage whip. All right, good boy. I don't think I have anything for you to.
He's also playing with his ball. He's
Yeah.
just not doing it on purpose.
One of our games, a lot of times I will interrupt and have him, and I'll let him tug a little bit on this because he doesn't tug hard. But a lot of times you saw me ask him for a down, and I will ask him for positions because teaches him how to think while he's excited. And it's important that you understand that you're going to have different arousal levels. And if you have an excitable dog like Nick, you do need them to be able to think when they're excited. Drop. Drop. That means you. Nick, come here. Drop. And
So calming activities is the ad enrichment is actually a form of management as well, because, you know, teaching your dog to calm down is going to reduce that barking. So, you know, working on anything that helps your dog calm down. Now, you saw Cindy kind of had to amp Nick up to get him to play. And when she's all done playing, she will also then go back into calming him down a little bit. So our goal for the game today is anything that you and your dog love. Could be snuggling on the couch, could be, you know, playing with a ball, could be playing a game of tug, could be doing nose work. We really don't care what it is. Anything you guys love, so that we can set the week off with starting it with connection, and cooperation together as a team. So it doesn't really matter what you do.
okay, I don't know if anybody saw that last little bit of what I did with Nick. I
Yep.
just want to point this out because I think it's important that people understand this. So instead of just taking the game away from him, that's actually
Punisher.
no, well, taking away is a punisher, but that game sequence that we just did is part of um, predation substitution training. So Nick's favorite part is the chase. And so we play that flirt pole game quite a bit. Instead of just abruptly ending it and taking it from him, I have what they call a prey dummy. It's a little tube. You could do this with anything. You could probably use an easy to open treat bag if you have an extra one. And so I had him chase the snake around, and then I threw the treat bag as I pulled the snake away and told him to get the treat bag. And so what that does is it gives him the opportunity to do the dissection, which is opening up, and then he can eat what he has just dissected. I know it sounds gross when you start using scientific terms, but
But
basically
reinforcement matters.
it really matters. And this is like way better than having him, chase the squirrel and bring the dead squirrel back to me. This way I can control what he's getting and how much he's getting, and let him he gets the whole thrill of the chase and the hunt. And so that's meeting his needs as a dog, as a hunty type dog. So it's part of his enrichment. It's just as important as the calming activities, like if you gave them a licky mat or a bone to chew. It's just as important as those behaviors. They need to do all of those things. He'll probably chew later. He has access to chews 24 hours a day, or other than when we're out. If he's off duty, he has access to a chew. So those things are important to help with the barking, because if their brain is busy doing things that they would do as a dog, they're not going to be as easily distracted to bark.
All right. And so with that, we're going to move on to the video challenge of today, or the tip. It's a tip challenge, kind of in between. So we want you to focus on, we asked in the group not too long ago, Where are your problem areas at? And so since we're starting at home, we want to pick a problem area that's home, not, you know, a problem area that's at the park, or if you go to the same place every day, like my dogs go to the training center, that's their second home. So it can be someplace like that, but something that your dogs are very comfortable in and you have control over the environment. So your goal today is to take your handy dandy phone, tablet, whatever device you're using, and just do a short 1 to 2 minute kind of glimpse of that area. You're going to be looking at a couple of things when you do that. So you don't have to share this video. You're welcome to, but you don't have to. What you're going to be looking at is keeping the area in frame as you move around that room. So maybe you're starting in one corner of the room and then kind of walking toward where the distraction point is and turning and backing off to another corner of the room. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but I want you to move around the room, keeping the area of distraction in frame. And so if you watch the video I posted of this on the Facebook group today, it shows 2 areas in frame. The couch where she tends to stand and look out one window and bark. And then I move over to the bench where she stands out the other window and barks. She likes to start on the couch because that's where she's laying. She hears something, she looks out that window, sees somebody over there, and she knows eventually they're going to come across the sidewalk that goes right out the front window. So she barks in both places, right? That's why I wanted to get video of both. So that's your goal for taking the video. And then step 2 would be forget about it, come back to it an hour, a day later, I don't care. But come back to it and just re-watch it so that you can look for, all right, did I keep everything in frame that I wanted to? Is there something that I don't like in the frame? You know, maybe I had the TV on and I noticed the TV was distracting. Or maybe, you know, so it could be a sight, it could be a sound. It could be that there's an obstacle that prevents you from going to point A to point B that you want to do. So you might need to rearrange moving that obstacle. You know, you don't want to trip over a coffee table because you're looking at your phone and not in front of you. So that's your 2 parts. First of all, take your short video that examines your area where the barking happens the most. And 2, a while later, rewatch that video so that you can see where those problem areas are. And if you feel like sharing, go ahead and pop that in the Barking Mad with Cookies Facebook group, or you can also private message us at Crazy2Calm. We are happy to look at it there too. If you don't want to share it in public, you can message any one of the canine coaches. So for this workshop, we're going to have the 3 main coaches. That will be me, Penny Beeman, owner of Uper Paws of Love, Cindy Campbell, owner of Clovis Paws for Play, and service dog handler Ashlyn Holt is always here to help us out as well. So we're the ones that will be running the rest of the workshop. We hope you enjoyed day 1. We hope you have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow when the actual work and training begins.